In this video, I would like to speak about the literature writing in a manuscript that will be sent for publication or in a thesis. And last time, when I spoke about the introduction, I said we use in the introduction some citations, some references. And these references are important because they show the reader that we can write a masterpiece of scientific work, and it shows the way we are going to do the study. But there are certain rules and regulations for using references in the introduction. As I said, the introduction in a manuscript for publication is usually small. It extends between 200 words to 500 words according to the information for authors in the different journals. And in the thesis, the number of citations we can use in the introduction can be up to 15 citations. So the introduction, usually, I mentioned this before, that it explains the relevance and the justification and the significance of the study. And it states the roadmap of the study because it mentions the justification of the study, the question of the study, the objectives of the study, and so on and so forth. It shows the way we are going to conduct the study. And the citations we use in the introduction clearly pinpoint the knowledge gap. In the manuscript for publication, although we use 2 to 3, maximum 5, according to the size of the introduction in the different journals, with these few citations, we should pinpoint an argument to strongly mention the knowledge gap, because we build on this knowledge gap to do our study. So it is foundational. And I mentioned before that the knowledge gap is the area or the piece of information which is missing, which is not known, which is needed, which is making a challenge, for example, in practice or for understanding the mechanism of any thing, or this knowledge gap should be clearly mentioned and supported by the number of citations we use in the introduction. So, as I mentioned before, it is foundational because it demonstrates mastery, recent literature argument. And it shows the roadmap, as I mentioned, because it shows identifies the problem, justification of the study, the question, hypotheses, and the objectives of the study, and so on and so forth. So, in the discussion part usually supports the argument because it compares and contrasts the different references and mention the weaknesses and the limitations of some of these references we are using in identifying the knowledge gap. And we discuss the findings of these references, what is written in these references, with our final findings of the study. We should discuss whether our performance is less or better or the same as in the international literature. So the discussion links the research to reality. the discussion, links the research to reality. The references we use should always be authentic literature. And to get authentic literature, we should go to authentic databases like the PubMed, in which we can find full free articles and sometimes also good abstracts. And also the directory of open medical journals. And the Europe PMC, Public Medical Central, and the Cochrane, if you are looking for guidelines, we have to select peer-reviewed articles and systematic reviews and meta-analysis. When we speak about peer-reviewed articles, means we should avoid predatory journals, we should avoid fake journals. Every reference should have clear support, clear role to support the specific area, a specific area in the study. It is not just collection of references. It is not just writing a lot of number of references or a lot of numbers of citations. No. Each reference, each citation should support an idea in how are we going to solve the problem in the knowledge gap. And it should have a role with which we discuss our findings, whether we are similar or not similar to the findings of others. So we have to avoid plagiarism, means we have to avoid predatory journals. We have to avoid getting citation references from the artificial intelligence, because usually there are lots of hallucinations in the artificial intelligence, and it mixes names, it gives different names. There are some errors in the names, or some deficiencies or problems in the main title, or some problems or faults in the journal name, or it is dates or page numbers. So we have to go to authentic databases, as I mentioned before. And we should not rely on abstracts, because usually in the abstracts, the writers do not mention the limitations of their studies. So we have to look for full articles, and we can find lots of full articles in the PubMed freely and in the directory of open medical journals. We should not also cite our own work, because this will be considered as conflict of interest, that we would like to increase the number of citations of our previous researches, and just to show people that our researches are excellent and have been cited before. We should not cite our own work. Let other people, if our work is good, other people to cite it, to use it as references. We should avoid plagiarism. And how to avoid plagiarism? The mechanism is very easy to avoid plagiarism. That any sentence you would like to use in the discussion or in support of your work, you should paraphrase that sentence or that paragraph and restructure the words, but keep the numbers the authors, the original authors have written, keep the numbers because they are supportive, and rewrite the statement using your own words, your own restructure, and then add a citation number to acknowledge the owner of the original concept, the owner of the reference, to acknowledge him, to thank him, or to thank them if there are multiple authors. Now, how to paraphrase and restructure sentences. This is a very easy drill. I spoke about it before. I said 2 or 3 residents should sit together and they should read in an article, for example, a specific paragraph they would like to use in their study. They should read it again for the second time to understand it very well, discuss it to understand it very well, copy the figures in a paper, then close the source, close the manuscript, close it. Then rewrite what you have understood in your own words and insert the figures. After that, you can exchange the ideas, what everyone has written and what was in the best in paraphrasing or restructuring of the sentence. If this drill, if this exercise is repeated 3 times or more, then it will be very easy for the resident to restructure and paraphrase whatever he would like to use in his citations. And like this, we'll avoid plagiarism. Very easy. I hope it is clear. So, read, understand very well, copy the figures, hide the source, rewrite in your own words, restructure the sentence in your own words, insert the figures, and then compare with each other. Do this drill 3-4 times, then you will be capable of avoiding much of plagiarism which we see in copy-pasting. All copy-pasting is, by definition, plagiarism. It will lead to complete rejection. After paraphrasing and restructuring, I said we have to acknowledge the owner of this concept by adding a citation number. And in the references, in the same figure, in the same citation number, you write the full reference. And in this video, I will speak about in-text citation, not about how to write references. No, about in-text, how to write the citations inside the text of your study. And look at this, and this is a quotation because it is written between 2 quotation marks. These inverted commas, quotation marks, means I have written what I have found exactly, word for word. It was written like this. Surgical complication rate was 11.3% amid Sudan war. This was obtained from the reference number 1, citation 1, in the page number 27. We add the page number 27. In quotations, we have to add the page numbers. Otherwise, no need for page numbers. Page numbers are added only in quotations. But we should avoid using much of quotations because it will reflect that we are not capable, or the writers or the authors are not capable of writing a good, mastery, scholarly, scientific writing. They cannot synthesize literature. And this is a big failure. So, in quotations, we should not use much of quotations. We should add the citation number, the reference number, and we should add the page numbers. And I will speak about this in the coming slides in details. Now, if we would like to paraphrase this, surgical complication rates was 11.3% amid Sudan war. It started with surgical complications. Let us change it. It will be during Sudan armed conflict instead of Sudan war, Sudan armed conflict. And we started with the whole concept, Sudan war, during Sudan armed conflict, surgical complications. Now we came to what was written in the quotation. Surgical complication reached instead of rate. reached 11.3%. We added the same figures, we kept the same figures, then we added a citation number. And since it is our own wordings, since it is our own paraphrasing and restructuring, we do not add the page numbers. I said page numbers only in quotations when it is written between quotation marks. Another paraphrasing, we can start with Sudan War. See, first we wrote during Sudan armed conflict. Now we can say Sudan War raised surgical complication, or Sudan War raised the surgical complications to 11.3%. Or we can start with the figure itself. If we are writing a sentence, for example, if we are writing the mortality rate, the reported mortality rate was 5%, and 11.3% surgical complication was reported. So these are changing of the words, paraphrasing of the words, and restructuring of the words. But we kept the same figures, and we added the citation number, the number of the reference, to acknowledge the authors of the reference, and we do not add page numbers. This, I am speaking about the Vancouver style, which is used by the Sudan Medical Specialization Board. In the in-text citation, not in writing references. Later on, we can speak about writing references. Now, paraphrase, I said, and restructure the sentences, and then add the citations. The citations can be written as a superscript that jump above the line of the text, and we can make the number of citations, this number 1 or 2 or 7 or whatever, to jump above the line, either by clicking in the menu X, and there is a figure on the top of the X to the right side of the text. We can highlight the number 1 or 6 or 7, the number of the citation, and then click that X with the figure on its top, it will jump. Otherwise, we have to press on Control Shift and plus, the mark plus. Together, the three should be compressed on the same time, then the number will jump above the line and it will be a superscript. This is a common style used in Vancouver as superscript, without parentheses, without brackets. However, it is also allowed in the Vancouver to use, but in the same line of the text, the citation number surrounded by parentheses or surrounded by square brackets as shown in the text here. But never use parentheses or square brackets around the superscript. This is not allowed in Vancouver. Never ever. Now, what about multiple references, multiple citations? In multiple citations, you can write the text after paraphrasing and restructuring, and then as superscript, we write the numbers of the citations, the different references, the numbers as superscript. If these numbers are consecutive, one after another, like what is written here, 3-5, 3-5, means 3, 4, 5. Then comma, we add the number of the other references. Here it is number 7, and then comma number 9. But 3 to 5 means including 3, 4, 5. Now, look at this statement. Prevalence of surgical site infection in clean contaminated surgery is 9% and 12% as reported in 2 studies. So, since they were 2 studies, after 9, we added a superscript. This is the number of the reference. And after 12, percent we added the second superscript, and then in the references we are going to write the whole reference. This is a common style used in the Vancouver. After surnames, we use surnames. The family name, the third name, we do not use the initial names, the first and second names. For example, here we can write Ali, then the superscript, number of the citation, found that so and so. Or if there were some co-authors or assistants or some other authors with Ali, then we can write Ali et al. Since et al. Means and others, it is an abbreviation. Then we put a full stop, we put a dot because it is an abbreviation. It space al, et al, full stop, then the superscript, number of the citation, demonstrated that so and so. If the author has some co-authors with him, co-workers or associates with him. Or we can add the citation number at the end of the sentence. We can write Ali et al. And his co-authors. Of course, there is a full stop between after et al. Because it is abbreviation. Reported that, they reported that, so and so, and then between parentheses, between parentheses, we add the citation number in the same line, not as a superscript, because we use parentheses. Or we can write also the number of citations surrounded by square brackets, whether after the author's name or Ali et al. Full stop, then between square brackets, the number of citation in the same line, not as a superscript, and observe that so and so. Or we can say Ali et al. Observe that, and then we write the citation number between square brackets at the end of the sentence. If they were two authors, we can write Ali and Muna. The surname, the family name, we do not add the initial names. In the Vancouver style, we do not use initial names. We do not use initial letters. So we can say Ali and Muna, then the citation number, number 1, conducted a research and found so and so. If they have two different researches, we can say Ali and his associates, Ali et al, full stop, then superscript, number of citation, and Muna et al, full stop, superscript, number of citation, found that or reported that so and so. Or we can use it at the end of the sentence. We can write Ali et al and Muna et al reported that so and so, then the superscript, the number 1, 2. We can write after the statement, as I said. For example, a study reported that so and so, and then we write the superscript. Or we can write so and so was reported by Ali and Ahmed, and then we write the superscript, if it is one study or two studies. If there were several studies, we can write several studies showed that so and so, and then between brackets in the same line, we can write the numbers of citations, or without brackets, without parentheses, we write as a superscript the citation numbers. In the Vancouver style, when we use a reference or citation for a single author, As I said, we write the third name, the family name, the surname. Ali reported so and so. And we write the superscript after the name Ali, or at the end of the sentence. So and so was found in Ali research. And then we end with a full stop, and then we add the superscript after a small space. One space, only one space. If they were multiple authors, then Ali et al. Reported so and so. Multiple researches in one study. Or so and so was found in Ali et al. Then the superscript. Or Ali et al. Superscript, Ahmed et al. Superscript found that so and so. Now, as I mentioned before, that in the article for journal publication, we used 2, 3, maximum 5 in the introduction, but that can extend up to 15 citations in the thesis, and should be around one target. That target is the knowledge gap. To define the knowledge gap, they should function, each and every reference should help us to identify the knowledge gap. If the reference is not helping us clearly to identify the knowledge gap, we cannot use it here. In the discussion, we have to discuss our findings with others. If the reference has nothing to do with discussion, is not related to our findings, we should not use that reference. We should make sure that all references were properly cited. Not just we counted that we have used lots of references. No. The research is not just collection of references or collection of literature. It should be adherently related to the concept we are studying. Now let me speak about quotations. I said we should not use much of quotations because it might reflect our weaknesses in writing scholarly writing. We use quotations for formal statements. For example, the WHO stated so and so. Or for specific definitions. Or for pieces we extract from classification or guidelines. We can use it. We can just copy word for word and use it as quotation. For example, as defined or declared by the WHO about the healthcare services, that the quality healthcare comprises safe, effective, people-centered, and integrated service. That the health service is described in 4 words. These are the quality. Healthcare comprises, it contains safety, safe, effective, it should be effective, it should be people-centered, and it should be integrated service. Since this is a quotation, it is written between quotation marks, these inverted commas written in red. And then we add the citation number, because in the references we are going to quote, to write the reference at the WHO, in which place we found that WHO guidance. And then we have to add the page numbers. We have to add the page numbers. Now the art of adding page numbers between parentheses or square brackets, we can add them in the same line compared to the superscript of the citation. Citation in superscript, without parentheses, without brackets. But in the same line of the text, between parentheses or square brackets, we can write the page number P, page number so and so. If they are several pages, for example, page number 12 and 13, then we write P. It is a small p, it is not a capital P. It is a small p. We write P 12, 13. If there are several pages. If it is one page, we write only the number of the page. Also, in the Vancouver style, we can make it all as a superscript, but we should never include the citation number of the reference inside the parentheses in the superscript. We add after the quotation mark, after the statement finished with a full stop and quotation marks, then we add a superscript, the citation number, and after that we add between square brackets or parentheses the page numbers P and the number of the page as a superscript. But we should not add the citation number of the reference inside these parentheses or brackets. However, we can write it in between the brackets or parentheses in the same line, like the last example here, reference the brackets, number 1, comma, then page number 12, then we close the bracket. In the same line, but not as a superscript. In the Vancouver style, never use parentheses or brackets around the citation number. In the superscript, never do that. Now, we said in the quotations, superscript, we write the quotation between quotation marks, then superscript, then on the same line, the page numbers between parentheses or between square brackets. Or we can write in the same line the number of the citation and the page numbers all enclosed in parentheses or square brackets, but in the same line, not as a superscript. And we should use usually, as I said before, the third name, the surname, the family name, not the initial names. Ali found, directly Ali found, not Ali Muhammad Yusuf. The full name is Muhammad Yusuf Ali. We use the third name, Ali. Found that, then we write the quotation between quotation marks, then we add the superscript, and between parentheses or square brackets, we add the page number, whether in the same line of the text or as a superscript. Or we can use the citation immediately after the name. For example, Ali, without, we use the family name, without initial numbers, initial figures, without MY, without the first name, initials of the first and second name. Ali, then we write directly the page number, the citation number as a superscript, followed by the page number between parentheses as a superscript. But we never, as a superscript, include the citation number inside the parentheses or brackets. And then we write the statement between between quotation marks, So the advice is that you should not italicize names or the abbreviation at all. Never make it pointing to one direction like that. Do not make it italics. Names and it all should not be italicized. We write in italics the name of the journal, the name of the book, the name of the species of bacteria, but not authors. and not at all. We should not copy and paste. Copy and paste denotes, it means that you are not capable of writing masterly, scholarly, good scientific writing. You are weak in writing scientific sentences. Do not copy and paste. And it will be considered as plagiarism. And it will lead to rejection. Omit quotation marks. Do not omit quotation marks. If you are quoting certain declarations or a specific area in a guideline, you should write the quotation marks. Never omit quotation marks, but do not use much of quotations in your research. Write the name followed by the text, then the superscript between parentheses, like this example. Name, Ali, found that. Never write the initials. Never write the initials written here in black MA. Never write them. Just Ali found that, so and so. And then superscript, never use around the superscript parentheses or brackets. So in writing citations, the rule is that we have to paraphrase and restructure sentences to avoid plagiarism. Copy and paste is a bad habit. It means plagiarism, and it will lead to rejection of the thesis and probably of the manuscript and probably the thesis. Copy and paste without quotation, even if you added the citation number and the page numbers, will be considered as plagiarism. Why? Because it means to the readers that these words are your own words. These are your paraphrases and restructuring. But in fact, they are the words of the original authors of the reference. So it is a plagiarism. Even if you wrote the citation number and the page number, and if you omitted the citation marks. Too many quotations, I repeat again, they mean that the authors are weak in writing. It is a failure of synthesis of literature. Failure of their ability to synthesize literature and to write a good masterly piece of writing or scholarly writing of research. So it is considered plagiarism if you copy word by word or you copy the idea without mentioning the source. If you did not mention the source, even if you paraphrase and restructure the sentences, if you did not add the citation number, if you did not acknowledge the owner of the original concept, then it will be considered as plagiarism. There are plagiarism detectors that will detect that. This idea does not belong to you, it belongs to somebody else. You should, it is plagiarism if you paraphrase the text without mentioning the source. Without mentioning the source. And if you mention the source and you did not paraphrase, if you did not add the quotation marks, it is plagiarism. So do not copy and paste. If you copy and paste a quotation without quotation marks, even if you added the citation number, it is still considered as plagiarism. However, if you paraphrase and restructure, you add the citation number to acknowledge, to thank the owner of the original concept, that is the writer, the author of the reference, or authors of the reference. You write the number as a citation, and since the writing is in your own words, do not add the page numbers. So it will be considered poor practice, if you copy the exact words, word for word, that is copy and paste, and you mention, even if you mention the source, the citation number, without quotation marks, it is a poor practice and considered as plagiarism. Take care. To this point, I will end and see you.